Jackson Movie Feud, the real reason Janet and Paris rebelled. While the rest of the world prepares for the 2026 Michael Jackson biopic, a deep divide has officially fractured the family, and it's no longer just about money. Paris Jackson has taken her rebellion to the courtroom, filing a new legal challenge against the estate executors. She is calling the film a fantasy and questioning where every cent of the production budget is actually going. But the biggest surprise comes from Janet Jackson. Sources confirm a heated clash with brother Jermaine after he claimed this movie would be the family's redemption. For the first time, Janet realized the narrative being sold wasn't the truth she lived, and she hasn't spoken to him since. But before we can get into the details of the lawsuit, we have to go back to the beginning, to the things that we need to know to make everything else make sense. Michael Jackson has been entertaining us since he was a small child, and he eventually grew into the world's #1 artist. Hands down, there's just no arguing against that. And let's be real, that had to be difficult for his siblings, because at some point in their lives, they all wanted to be just like him. Prime example, Marlon. He made a music video stealing all of Michael Jackson's moves, spotlight, the silhouette, the whole nine. And in my opinion, the video was still a hot damn mess.
Do you want to dance? 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 Do you want to dance?
I want to dance. I want to dance.
Do you want to dance? You want to sit here and talk? Or do you want to dance?
I want to dance.
Way you move on the floor, girl, you driving me crazy.
A mess, people. Just a mess. And, I'm not being disrespectful to Marlon, because I don't want you guys saying, oh, Sharrell, you're being so mean. I'm being mean? I didn't make him make that video. However, I will give Marlon credit for never throwing his brother under the bus, or even publicly being jealous of him. I don't think Marlon was jealous, not one bit. That's after he accepted that he's not his brother, as far as entertainment is concerned. Michael Jackson also started making large sums of money ever since he was a small child.
Have you always been good with your money? Have you always been?
With my money?
Yes.
Yes. I remember getting $200,000 checks in the mail when I was like 12, 13 years old. I used to get these monthly. My father would say, well, what do you want to do with it? I say, well, of course we should put it away.
You were 12 years old?
Yeah, but he would give me a certain amount to buy things that I wanted to buy.
How much do you think you're worth?
It's way up there, but I don't know.
Go on. Just how much?
I've done really well.
$1 billion?
Yeah, it's over there.
It's over $1 billion.
Yes.
So some of the things that he did with his money was take care of his parents. He actually brought the Encino home for his mother, and that came with a very large monthly stipend. In return, his mother will allow all of his siblings to live there. She would also give them monthly allowances coming from the money that Michael gave her. And she continued to do this even when they became adults. Eventually, LaToya didn't need any help from her mother anymore, and neither did Janet Jackson. But he still took care of the rest of them, and he resented it. He said none of them could make money on their own without being tied to Michael Jackson, with the exception of Janet Jackson. He even confided in his wife at the time, Debbie Rowe, when he told her that his brothers were nothing but greedy slackers and they weren't talented. But even worse than that would be Jermaine Jackson. It was well known in the family that Jermaine was extremely jealous of Michael Jackson for his talent and his fame and his money. And he would do things to hurt Michael, and even worse, to make him look bad in the public. He spoke poorly about his brother to anyone that would listen. He wrote a diss song about him. Then he wrote an unauthorized book about him. And in this book, he claims he wasn't sure that Michael was innocent of the allegations. The family had to beg him not to publish the book. Here are the lyrics to the diss song called Word to the Bad.
Jermaine really had it out for Michael. hell-bent on destroying his career.
Jermaine is definitely jealous of him. I mean, it's very blatant that he's very jealous of Michael, or anybody that succeeds in that matter in the family.
Deconstructed, been abducted, don't know who you are. Think they love you, they don't know you, from their superstar. Wish you were made, you changed your shape, was your color wrong?
However, Janet didn't have any animosity towards her brother. In fact, she loved and respected Jermaine.
Being his sidekick in Scream?
Not at all, because I feel that that's what I am in life, his sidekick.
In life?
Yes. Growing up, I was such a tomboy. I was closest to my brothers, and I was never feminine. So when they go off on tour, I just felt very alone. I wasn't close to my sister Latoya or my sister Rebe. She's 16 years older than me. Rebe is. My brothers, they were on tour a lot. I used to watch the Saturday morning cartoons, and that's my first memories of my brothers being famous. I used to sit in my pajamas and on the floor in my parents' bedroom, and I couldn't wait for it to come on. So when they were back home, I was with them. They never excluded me, always included me, especially being the baby. You know?
It wasn't until the big scandal, which was Jermaine, while still living in the Encino home that Michael purchased for his mother, decides to have an affair with his brother Randy, who also lived in the home, baby mother.
Jermaine Jackson came along. Unbeknownst to Randy, Jermaine pursued a secret affair with Alejandra. This double crossing was rendered even more astonishing by the fact that it happened right inside the Jackson compound, in the very presence of Randy. In 1995, Jermaine and Alejandra did something that surprised not only the family members, but also the public. They secretly married each other. Later, the couple had 2 children. Jafar Jeremiah Jackson, born on July 25, 1996, and Your Majesty Jermaine Jackson, born on October 7, 2000.
This is when Janet Jackson and her brothers completely stopped speaking to Jermaine. But Jermaine didn't seem to mind his message to Randy.
Jermaine said he needs to get over it and leave all the petty stuff behind and act like a man.
Many of the family members stopped speaking to Jermaine for years, and that included Janet and Michael. Can you imagine? His children are now step-siblings to Randy's children and cousins at the same time. And while all this was going on, Michael Jackson abruptly fires his financial attorney, John Branca, accusing him and Tommy Mottola, who was president of Sony at the time, of stealing money from him and funneling this money to offshore accounts. He also said that Tommy Mottola inventing these allegations of him touching minors. According to the rumors, Michael Jackson owned 50% of Sony's publishing, and Tommy Mottola thought that this made him too powerful and he wanted his publishing back. And according to close friends, Michael Jackson was even in fear of losing his life.
You know, we always hear the conspiracy theories, like, you know, they be like, oh, Bill Cosby was trying to buy NBC. Michael's the only person I believe they really, really tried to railroad like that because of what he did with the publishing in the music industry.
He talked about it all the time. He talked about it all the time. One thing I will say is that in the studio, he would always talk about how he lived in a certain fear. And I used to always try to reel him in a direction like, yo, you only supposed to fear God. Man shouldn't have you feeling like that. No man should have you living in that space. But he lived in that space a lot because he felt like he had something that was so valuable, which he did. He had something so valuable that people wanted.
He owned like half of Sony ATV's publishing, right?
Yeah, I'm glad you said it that way because I think people have confused the narrative. People for so long have said, Michael owned the Beatles catalog.
I've heard that.
No, Michael owned Sony ATV.
That's right.
Which is Babyface, Mariah, the Beatles.
Beyonce.
Probably some of my catalog was in there.
Isn't that like half the music industry?
Yes. At the time, you had 3 giants. Sony was pretty much the biggest out the 3 at that time. And they did a deal with him that forever he felt that they wanted back.
You think they threw all those cases at Michael because they wanted it back?
I think it could have had something to do with it.
Now let's fast forward to the day the late, great Michael Jackson passed away. The family was so distraught, no one could muster up the courage to face the media. So Jermaine Jackson volunteered. Now, does this mean that Jermaine had no right to mourn his brother because what happened in the past? Not necessarily. With all that went down in the past, Jermaine still could have loved his brother, and I believe he did. Others, well, they don't.
This is hard. My brother, the legendary king of pop, Michael Jackson, passed away on Thursday, June 25th, 2009 at 2:26 p.m. I couldn't believe that I was announcing my brother's death for the world. I was numb, very numb, because it was like a nightmare.
My sister Janet calls me and she says, she asked me, was I driving? And I said, no. I said, I'm not. I said, I'm getting ready to get on the freeway soon though. She said, no, pull over. Don't get on the freeway. And right then I knew something was terribly wrong. I said, Janet, is he dead? And she said, he's gone.
Shortly after that, Jermaine would call a family meeting with all of the siblings. He said he found it highly suspicious that Michael would hire back John Branca 8 days before his death, after firing him for allegedly stealing. And by the way, Michael never found any concrete proof that anyone knows of, but he still fired him. And supposedly, there was a makeup artist named Karen Faye. She said that Michael left behind a note telling her not to trust John Branca. She said that he also suspected that John Branca was forging and rewriting contracts. He even suggested to the siblings that they knew Michael better than anyone in the world, and they knew for a fact that Michael didn't trust anyone, especially a man who he thought was in cahoots with Tommy Mottola. However, his biggest concern was the will. The will was actually drafted in 2002. July 7th, 2002 was the exact date. However, there is evidence showing that Michael Jackson was in New York City that day attending a protest against Sony Music. He also noticed that the 2002 will was written when Michael still lived at Neverland Ranch before the 2005 trial. That changed his financial and mental state forever. By 2009, his life looked nothing like it did in 2002, suggesting that maybe Michael was right. Maybe Tommy Mottola, John Branca, and Sony as a whole really were after him. And what would they be after him for? His publishing. Combine that with the fact that former employees say that there's a newer will that was drafted in 2006 or 2007 while he was living in Bahrain and Ireland. And in that will, he gave all of the control over the estate to his mother and his children. Another thing, in the 2002 will that everyone is going by, that was a pour-over will, meaning it simply took everything that Michael Jackson owned and dumped it into the Michael Jackson Family Trust. This gave the executors, John Branca and McLean, incredible power to sell assets like the Sony catalog, aka his publishing. It even gave them power to sell Neverland. So basically, it gave them the power to do whatever they wanted, and they didn't have to ask permission from his children or his mother. And Jermaine doubted that Michael will hand over his total estate to people he didn't trust, aka John Branca. Now fast forward to 2024, when what Uncle Jermaine said happened actually happened, and that is the sale of Michael's publishing company. And who did they sell it to? You guessed it, Sony. Now, very quickly after that, they announced that they're making a movie about Michael Jackson, and it's going to star Jermaine Jackson's son, Jafar. And yes, Jafar is one of Jermaine's children that he had by Uncle Randy's girlfriend. Now, if this story hasn't gotten as complicated as it could get for you, well, keep watching. Back in 2018, Paris gets very suspicious of the executors over her father's estate, aka John Branca. She feels like there's money missing, and she thinks she can prove that at least 10 million is missing, but they won't give her any numbers. They won't give her any receipts. So she has that in the back of her mind when she goes in with the rest of the family to look at the footage from the movie. Also, Aunt Janet is at this meeting, and she's upset that they sold Michael's publishing. So she has that in the back of her mind as she's watching this footage. But when she sees John Branca putting himself as the main attorney during Michael's first allegations, she realizes that's not true at all. She said that John Branca was Michael's finance attorney and had nothing to do with the allegations. So how could he put together a master plan or strategy that wins Michael's case for him? And he damn sure didn't help Michael during the second trial because he didn't even work for Michael then. So how could he put together another master plan to win the trial for Michael Jackson? When in reality, these two weren't even speaking. Paris automatically stands up for her aunt and says, I've been suspicious of him for a long time now. I think he is funneling money from the estate. Not only that, I'm going to sue him. But to their surprise, Uncle Jermaine supports John Branca, as if he wasn't the one that held a family meeting telling everybody, don't trust John Branca. And there are actual published reports saying that Jermaine begged Janet and Paris to leave the movie exactly the way that it is. He said that the movie was redemption for the family. Now, I don't know what he means by the word redemption, but what he could have meant is that this movie helped him greatly in a lot of areas. Number one, it shows just how talented Jafar is. They say he can act, sing, and dance just like Michael Jackson. Not only that, they're saying that Jermaine is pushing Jafar, managing him so he could be the next Michael Jackson or even better than the new Michael Jackson. Now, better than Michael Jackson? Oh no, Jermaine, are you back at it? A second way that this movie helped Jermaine was with his wallet. According to the rumors, he came on as a consultant. And according to the rumors, he was paid millions of dollars. When Paris asked to see the receipts, of course, they didn't give it to her. This is another reason why she had to sue them. So at this point, the entire family is against Janet and Paris, with the exception of Prince. Prince feels like it should be their right to see the records. He feels like everyone needs to be transparent. But Janet knows that's not going to happen because, according to the rumors, she says that John Branca is responsible for stealing from the Michael Jackson estate. But get this one, and he may also be responsible for Michael's death. Now, this is a lot, people. This is a lot. And you guys have to help me unwind this situation and figure out what's really going on. Also, leave your thoughts and comments down in the comment section. Until next time, bye for now.
The biopic Michael premiered in Berlin on April 10, 2026, drawing huge crowds of fans celebrating Michael Jackson's legacy. The film stars his nephew Jafar Jackson, who attended alongside several family members. Notably present were Jackson's sons Prince Jackson and B.G. Jackson, as well as brothers Jackie, Jermaine, and Marlon Jackson, showing strong family support on the red carpet. However, Paris Jackson was absent. Reports indicate that her ties to ongoing tensions with the film and her father's estate is why she didn't attend the premiere or show her support. She has previously said she had 0% involvement in the project and criticized aspects of its production, while also being involved in legal disputes with estate executors. Her non-attendance, along with other family absences, highlights internal disagreements over how Jackson's life is portrayed, contrasting with the unified front shown by other relatives at the premiere. In the comments, tell me what you think about Paris not attending.